Head, neck, backbone straight. This is a position where maximum energy flow happens. We are doing a subtle topic called as Pramana Vichaar. So for that, let us tune up by withdrawing our mind from all past experiences, whatever has happened in our school, college, personal, professional life, only keeping the learnings with us. Let us let go all future anxieties, worries, imaginations. Let us let go all present tensions, confusions, wherever the mind is preoccupied just before the class. How to let go? Just by saying consciously, I let go all past, I let go all future anxieties, I let go all present tensions and confusions. When I give a command, the mind has to listen. Though it may not yield immediately, but slowly by practice, the mind will get into a habit of listening to the commands. Auto-suggestion command is very important in meditation, in spiritual progress. Keeping the minds where hands are is a very important sadhana. Let us focus our mind on the entire body and scan the body from head to toe, toe to head, like how an X-ray machine scans. This exercise is important to bring the mind where the body is. Mind and body both are connected very, very closely like two gears. This is also a very good healing process. Wherever we find pain or discomfort, we can adjust and then withdraw the mind from the body to breath. Breath observation is a very significant step. Mind is always in the present, always detached, always efficient. Mind has no form. Breath has no form, no name. Mind instantly becomes peaceful, suitable for spiritual knowledge. So even at home, when we are going to read some scriptures, we can practice for a few minutes and then read the scriptures for getting the essence of it. Let us withdraw the mind from the breath and focus on the mind itself. What kind of emotion I'm feeling right now? Sensations are in the body, emotions are in the mind. All emotions are thoughts and thoughts can be changed. So let us withdraw from the emotions. Now the mind is settled down. Quiet, peaceful also is an emotion. And focus on our thoughts. Whose thoughts are coming, which thoughts are coming, no thoughts are coming. That is also a state of intellect. Blank mind also is a state of intellect. And then we inquire who is the observer of the thoughts. And the question will be answered as I am. I am observing the thoughts, emotions, breath, body sensations, outside objects. I know that I am. So there is an illuminator prior to I am. So let us become aware of awareness. That is the last stage where we can reach, becoming aware of awareness. Let us invoke Lord's grace and Guru Parampara's blessing to keep us on this process, path, and chant loudly. Om. 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 Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। स्थावरं जङ्गमं व्याप्तं यत्किञ्चित् सचराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। चिन्मयं व्यापि यत् सर्वं त्रैलोक्यं सचराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। त्वमेव माता च पिता त्वमेव बन्धुश्च सखा त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्।
Thank you, Vidya. So I hope we are all coming prepared by reading the summary given by Vidya. That is very important in this topic, Pramana Vichaar. So Pramana means of knowledge, and it creates Prama, that is the knowledge. So two things happen. One is the perception through the senses, and that perception creates a thought. And when the thought is created, then we call that Prama has happened, knowledge has happened. Knowledge has taken place. This is a very important point to ponder upon and meditate upon when we complete these sessions. We are going to discuss this topic, but this topic is the basis of Praman Vichar. Percept and then concept. So, till now, the topics what we have covered are as follows. The topic we are discussing is Pramana Vichar, in that we started with Jnana Mahima, significance and importance of knowledge. We saw definition of knowledge, Sa Vidya Ya Vimuktaye. Knowledge is that which liberates us. Then we also saw the significance of knowledge, that knowledge definition is equal to equation is equal to liberation, freedom, that is equal to happiness, that is equal to success. So if anybody is not having success or happiness or freedom or liberation, then I must go back and ask myself, can I enhance my knowledge? Can I have the right knowledge for this? Very important point. Then we saw equation of ignorance as ignorance is equal to bondage, limitation, suffering, and failure. In any field, in our day-to-day life also, in our spiritual journey also, wherever we are finding that I am getting stuck, I am having some limitation, then that is due to some ignorance. Then the third thing what we saw about knowledge, Mahima, is knowledge is equal to power. Those people who are into specific thing whom we consider as powerful, they have that knowledge of politics and they become powerful in politics. Those people who are having knowledge of creating wealth, they become powerful in creating wealth. Those people who are having knowledge of Brahman, they become ultimately Sarvajna, Sarvatra, Sarva Shaktiman. Then next we saw we must have two knowledges in life. One, in day-to-day life, we must have knowledge how to be comfortable, how to transact with this world, how to transact with people, how to transact with resources and objects to create a comfortable living. Why comfortable living? Which is very important, because unless and until our life is comfortable outside, my mind will not come to spiritual knowledge. If I am having health problem, financial problem, relationship problem, this, that, then the mind will not be ready for this spiritual knowledge to have. Maybe there would be exceptions where people are there, but in general, there must be overall comfort. And second, knowledge for happiness. So that is, there are two terms, success and happiness. Success means comfortable living. Happiness means permanent, unbroken happiness. So success comes from outside, happiness comes from within. Now, after that, as we saw, happiness comes from within. There are different views. For some people, happiness comes from outside. For some people, happiness comes from action. For some people, happiness comes from God. And the fourth category, happiness comes from self, because happiness is located in the self. So we saw four views. My knowledge, my view, my belief, my values drives my way. That drives my happiness. So very important actually. This Praman Vichar is very, very crucial. Suppose I want to be successful and happy. These are the only two things humanity wants. Then I must have this knowledge. So what are the four views we saw? Happiness is located in the world. Then I will try to change the external condition, which is also very important. Second, happiness is located in my action. My action will give my achievement, which will change external condition. Then I will be happy. The third, happiness is dependent on divine grace. And the fourth, as happiness is located in the real self, Atma, consciousness, then I must seek it, because the happiness is located not outside but inside. So when we know these four views, we actually strive for these four also. That I keep my external condition comfortable, I keep my actions efficient, skillful. This is very important. There are some people who come into spirituality and they say, I read scriptures, I go to temples, and I'm not successful in office. But that is not, I'm not successful in cricket. So I must know the cause and effect. Just because I am reading scriptures and I go to temple and do some puja and japa, in office, different skills are required. How can I be successful? How can I become a good batsman? How can I do my office work just because I am reading scripture? So, just Guruji says that just by doing pranayam or shirshasana, I cannot play better football. Will be somewhere indirectly connected, but different competencies are required. Different kind of knowledge is required. Because I hear this doubt or this question from many people that what wrong I did, I pray to God, I do this, but still I am not successful. But I must ask, what is required to be successful in office? What is required to be successful in playing cricket? What is required to do when I want to play football or in family life as a good husband, wife, parent? What are the competencies? And then we saw, for knowledge process to happen, now I have to listen carefully because our main topic is this knowledge. So now we have built up the significance of the knowledge, that it is required for main two things. So how knowledge happens? Pramata, Pramana, Prameya must come together. What is Pramata? The knower, experiencer. What is Pramana? The means of knowledge. And Prameya means the object. So for some people, the object is world. For some people, the object is God. For few people, the object is self. Now I want to know myself. So we are withdrawing. So now Pramata, Pramana, Prameya, that will lead to Prama. Prama means knowledge. Pramata means knower. Pramana means means of knowing. So that is our main topic, Pramana Vichar. And Prameya means object of knowledge. What is my object of knowledge must be clear. When these three come together, then the right Prama happens. If the right Prama is not happening, then somewhere I am getting vague idea about any particular object. For example, suppose I see a sunflower in the clear light. I say that sunflower is yellow. Clear Prama about the sunflower. Suppose the light is dim, some kind of film I am using, something happens, I might not get the clear color of sunflower. That is Brahma. It is very important. Now we have to connect all these things about Vedanta and God and self, whether I am having clear knowledge about God's nature, clear knowledge about myself. Otherwise, Brahma will happen. And the third case is Ama. Ama is no knowledge happens. So I go in the darkness and then I cannot figure out what is what. So that is Ama. Suppose there is dim light, then I might search, oh, this is a book, this is a rope, it is a snake. So that is Brahma. Or when the light is on, then I say this is a book, this is a sunflower, this is a rope. That is Prama. Now this example looks very simple, but same thing we are going to apply to self and God. That whether I am having clear Prama about God, clear Prama about self, who am I, who is God? Then we took very important pointer that this is going to come in the 13th chapter. Right now we are doing summary of 12 chapters. So 13th chapter is a little tricky chapter in Bhagavad Gita. Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yoga. I have to listen carefully several times what Bhagwan is saying. So now this is very important to note and do manan. If anybody has any questions on this, we'll have to take immediately. So now we saw that outside objects are there, and though that becomes the prameya objects to be known. Then that is known by the senses, eyes, ears, tongue, skin, nose, etc. 5 senses. Now senses become pramata for the outside world. Very important point. But whatever happens in the senses, suppose my skin is irritating, my eyes become red, my tongue has become dry. So who knows that? The mind knows. So mind becomes pramata. Till here, things seems to be okay. So who is the knower of the mind? So my mind is agitated. My mind is not, paying attention. Who is that? Who is the knower? So mind becomes the prameya and the intellect becomes the pramata, knower. Now till here also we are okay. But who is the knower of the intellect? I am the knower of my intellect, my mind, my emotions, my senses and objects. This is where Arjun says in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan, I am the pramata. And in the second verse itself, Bhagavan says, I am the pramata in you. How can there be 2 pramatas? So that detailed discussion we are going to take in the 13th chapter. But now here, just for clarity, we have distinguished very importantly, because in Sanskrit it comes as Sakshi. Now here, Pramata 2 and Pramata 1 we have to remember. Pramata 2 is the reflected consciousness, that is a ego, that is a I notion, which is a fictitious one. That is the knower of intellect, mind, senses, object. And it is the game what the Pramata 2 is playing, where the intellect, mind, senses are required. But the Pramata 1 is the consciousness, pure consciousness, and that we call as illuminator. So just to remember, real consciousness, Pramata 1 is illuminator. It only illumines, like sun only illumines. It is not responsible for what is happening on the earth. Sun will say, I am only illuminating. I am not responsible for anything happening. But Pramata 2, that is my own reflected consciousness, which I call as I, which is very important. I am sad, I am glad, I am mad. I did this, I did this. Right now I am this age. And for spiritual seekers, I am seeking moksha because I am assuming that I am in bondage. So who is this I? That is the Pramata 2, reflected consciousness. So this topic is going to come. So we started Pramana Vichar to have more clarity on this. With Pramana Vichar, I can understand Bhagavad Gita 13th chapter very clearly. Without this Pramana Vichar, it becomes slightly confusing what Bhagwan suddenly says that I am the Pramata in you. So now we will go to defining everything, whatever we have discussed. So what is the meaning of Prama? Prama is the knowledge. That is what we want. Because right knowledge will liberate us. Right knowledge will destroy the ignorance. I do not have to take any action. For Uttam Adhikari, just the Guru says, Aham Brahmasmi, the person realizes, because the person is ready. That knowledge comes. The reflected consciousness disappears. So, Prama means, pra in Sanskrit means clearly, prakarshena. So, pra means prakarshena. So, now we are defining what is Prama, and then we will go to Pramana. So what is Prama? Prama means knowledge. How this Prama word is formed? Pra means clearly, Prakarshena. And Ma, two alphabets are there. Prama. Ma means Miyati Anaya Iti, means measured. So what is the definition of knowledge? This is very, very, very important to by heart. That what is the definition of Prama? Definition of Prama is Prakarshena Miyate Anaya Iti Prama. Means that knowledge which is clearly measured, that only is the knowledge. Now very important in our Vedanta Shastra, the senses are called as measuring instruments. Basically, we are giving so many fanciful things, but basically eyes measure light. What is the frequency? What is the ultraviolet light? We cannot see this light, so it has a range, so it only measures it. When the measuring power goes down, then we have to put spectacles. Then cataract comes and we have to remove cataract. As the age grows, the eye's power goes down. Ears measure sound frequency. Skin measures temperature. Eyes measure form. So from today, those who are Vedantic students, they must think that these 5 things are instruments. Because if I do not pay attention to this, then we will not understand what is Pratyaksha Pramana. It is the first Pramana which is going to come. Pratyaksha Pramana, where the senses contact the objects. So, what is the definition of knowledge? Prakarshena miyate anaya prama, means that which clearly measures is called as knowledge. So, in the day sunlight, suppose I say this object is red, clear knowledge. This is very important because we are going to see what is the definition of right knowledge after some time, after 1 or 2 points. So what is definition of Pramana? So we saw definition of Prama. Now definition of Pramana. Prameya Karanam iti Pramanam. So that by which knowledge takes place, Karanam, instrument, that is called as Pramana. So what is Prama? Clearly measurable knowledge. Any instrument we take, it must clearly measure what it is. There are hundreds of instruments, but it must, suppose there you take a weight. You know, when we go to market, it must clearly measure what is the weight. If it is just moving here and there, it is not showing the right weight. Whether it is electrical instrument, process instrument, weight instrument, there are various instruments. So that instrument is required for measuring. Without instrument, we cannot measure. Without instrument, the knowledge will not be correct. So now we have defined Prama and we have defined Pramana. Prama means that which clearly measures. Now, this is very simple to understand right now, but when we apply it to Atma, when we apply it to God, then exactly suppose I get it, then Lakshana Pramanabhyam Vastu Siddhi immediately. What is the conclusion of these two? So Prama, that is the knowledge, is that which is known and measured clearly by right Pramana. Now we will see what is the challenge happening in our day-to-day life and in spiritual life. Why this topic is very important for spiritual students and also in day-to-day life. Without instruments, without knowledge, how will I rectify it? How will I know it? What is to be done? So let us say day-to-day life transactions. In day-to-day life transactions, I have to pay now attention what we are discussing. For any knowledge to happen, Prama to happen, 3 things are required. Pramata, Prameya, Pramana. Knower, means of knowing, and the object which is to be known. Now in our day-to-day life, the whole joke is that all 3 changes. But then I say, no, whatever I know, it is right. This is the biggest joke. Even Bhagwan is very, humble in Bhagavad Gita. He says, this is my opinion. But no, my My knowledge is right knowledge. Now, after this Pramana Vichar is done, after next class itself, or this class, suppose we were able to cover that, we will realize that all our Vrittijanya knowledge is not right knowledge. Why? We are going to see the conditions on which the knowledge is going to happen. Now here, let us take example. Now Prameya changes. So what is our Prameya in day-to-day life? Objects outside. Objects change. Their nature changes. Their structure changes. Their color changes. Any object which is kept for 50 years, suddenly nature will change. Structure will change. Form will change. Our knowledge also will change. Our knowledge changes. Second, person. This is what I have to actually remember. Person also changes. The person's thought changes, belief changes, value changes. But no, I know this person 50 years, 25 years back. This person whom I know, my perception becomes my reality and I superimpose my knowledge about this person. This person is like this. This person is like this. This person, but that person is already changed. And this happens so very easily by few judgments that this person is like this. We superimpose ignorance on another person. You don't know anything. We superimpose so many wrong things on the other person that this person is like this. How do we know this person is like this? That person would have realized and gone. That person would have changed in 10 years, not only looking at his body, but internally his belief, values, knowledge would have changed. So people change, but we have fixed opinions about it. That is very important in day-to-day transactions. And then situations also change that we did not discuss, but situation change. Suddenly there is bright light, suddenly there is dark light situation. So now when Prameya itself is changing, how can we have fixed knowledge about the world? That is not possible because world is changing. Important conclusion what we are deriving. Our Prameya itself is changing. How can I have a fixed knowledge about the world? And that's the reason when we scientists, we see every 100 years news, what we call new invention comes and earth was flat, earth is round. Something will come tomorrow and our knowledge will change about the same earth. Pramana is changing. Instruments change. This is my favorite example. Suppose we see our palm. You cannot see anything on the palm except some lines. Suppose we take a lens, more lines will be clearer. So when the lens is used, my knowledge about my palm changes. Suppose I use electron microscope or something, biological microscope, some bacteria, viruses will be seen on my palm. So my viruses, bacteria, extra lines, some dirt particles and palm, the knowledge has changed when the lens has changed. So whenever now spiritual students who are listening, I must ask that this knowledge what I am having about this person, this situation, this object, what is the lens I am using? Is it WhatsApp? It's somebody else told me something about this person, or it is I have read something, or it is my own experience and judgment. And next, very important point here. The Pramata itself is changing. Now, this point is going to come in 13th chapter, where Bhagwan says that Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yoga means Bhagwan is telling that Kshetrajna means field and Kshetra means Pramata, knower. He is putting mind and intellect also in Kshetra. Very important point. He is putting mind and intellect also in Kshetra, inert. It takes time to digest there because suddenly I find that my mind, my thoughts are inert. Like right now, laptop is there or some glass is there in front of me, that is inert. Bhagwan says, your thoughts also are inert. What are you thinking? So now, Pramata also changes. What are the Pramatas? What we saw? The senses are Pramatas for the objects outside the world. The senses change. My vision is changing. My number is changing. There are some people who are color blind. Then my mind is changing. My intellect is changing. When I was 20 years old, I had read Bhagavad Gita, but now when I read Bhagavad Gita, my knowledge about Bhagavad Gita is changing. So senses change, mind change, intellect quality change. I am doesn't change because that is false only. But all this Bhagavan says it belongs to Kshetra. But here we are saying they are pramata for this. They are knower. Objects are known by senses. Senses are known by mind. Mind is known by intellect. Intellect is known by I am. But all three are changing. So our knowledge is changing. So this Praman Vichar is very important. So let us take a classic example. This example we know, but now in this context, it becomes very, very important. Everything what we are going to discuss, we have to apply to Vedanta. God, self, Brahman. There is a blind person. That blind person is pramata, knower. Now the elephant is there. That is the prameya, object. And the pramana for knowing the elephant is eyes, not book. So if the pramana is faulty, if the eyes are faulty, if there is no eyes only for a blind person, then we know that story that 4 blind people came and touched the elephant and said that this is like a pillar, this is like a rope, etc. So the means are faulty, then the knowledge also will be faulty. So the right means for knowing the elephant is eyes. To know the flower, whether it is real or artificial. Suppose a flower is kept at a distance of 20 feet. How do I know there are 2 flowers kept? One is real, one is false. How do I know which one is real, which one is false? By eyes cannot be the pramana. Hari Om, I have to listen carefully. Eyes cannot be the pramana for knowing the flower which is real or artificial. I have to touch it or I have to smell it. To know whether a flower is real and artificial, also eyes cannot be pramana. But still people say, I want to see God, I want to see God. For God, eyes cannot be the pramana. So now when we get the right pramana, we will get God's vision immediately. But we are using a wrong pramana. So the eyes are the right pramana to see elephant. Right pramana to know real flower is not eyes. Those are hands and smell. We had taken this example when we did this. The artificial flower remains same after 1 month. That which remains same after 1 month is artificial. This world also is artificial because it remains same. The same sun after thousands of years, same sunrise, same bird, same blue sky, same earth rotating. So that is remaining same. So the world must be artificial. Jagan Mithya Brahma Satya. Now this is how we are going to connect later on to Vedanta. So that Pramana Vichar is very important because then immediately I will come to know, oh, this is what we had learned. So now we saw in day-to-day life, this Pramana, 3 things change. Now when we come to self-knowledge or Vedantic students, now this is our Pramana Vichar important pointer coming. Now our Pramata, a very important point. Now Pramata whom we want to know, that is also Pramata, illuminator, that which is changeless, eternal, beginningless, ever available with us right now. It is all the time in its true nature. So our goal is to know the Pramata one, the self, what Ramana Maharshi calls as I am. which the Bhakta calls as God, which is same. The God is, nature of God is not changing. So Pramata 1, I want to know now, because that is a real thing. Now for that, what is available for me to know? The Pramata 2. That is the only thing available. What is the Pramata 2? Pramata 2 is the I am, the mind and the intellect. These are the things available. So after knowing, after reading thousands of scriptures also, I am not able to know God or self because my mind is not pure. Now we come to this. My mind is not pure. It is having 6 malas. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsara. When the mind is having this mala, this knowledge will not lead me to experience. Anubhuti will not happen. Vijnana will not happen. Aparokshanubhuti will not happen. And the intellect must understand the lakshana. So now these two important pointers coming. Mind must be pure and intellect must be concentrated and it must know the lakshanas. That's the reason in Bhagavad Gita, in Upanishads, in Brahma Sutra, in whatever text, what we have to focus on, what is the lakshana given of God, what is the lakshana given of self, what is the lakshana given of Brahman. In Upanishad, it is called as Brahman and Brahma lakshanas are given. In Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan says, my lakshanas, you know me. So Bhagavan says same thing. In any other text, when we see Saddarshan Upadeshar, Bhagavan gives lakshanas of the real self. Same thing. Same lakshanas are there. So now 3 things are required. Now this is where the Pramata needs to be worked on. Pramata 2. And that's the reason we come with Upasana, we come with Karma Yoga. And that is the reason where there is mind is, where there is purity and clarity. Experience happens instantly. Why? Because it is me only. The object is not outside me. Object is me only. The seeker of self. God says, I am inside you, Pramata. In 13th chapter, you seek within. You can seek outside. Bhagavan has given Vibhuti Yoga also. Bhagavan has given Vishwarup also. You can seek outside. But I am your Pramata. I am there with you, available all the time. And Pramana. What is the right Pramana for knowing this Pramata 1 and Pramata 2 I have to use? What is the right Pramata for knowing God, self or Brahman? Senses? No. Mind? No. Intellect? No. Why? Senses, mind, intellect cannot be the right Pramana to know the self, God, Brahman, because these 3 are changing. Now, very important point I think we have got is that in this, our object, Vastu, our seeking object is not changing. That is what I want. And that is where the happiness is located. So that object is changeless. That object is permanent. And in that object, happiness is located. So I'm interested to have the permanent, unbroken happiness. But for that, senses, mind, intellect cannot be the right pramana. Why? We are going to discuss. One reason is they are fluctuating. So we cannot depend on the senses, mind and intellect. So what is the right pramana? That is what is this Praman Vichar. So now the sutra what we are going to discuss in the next session is Lakshana Pramanabhyam Vastu Siddhi. So 2 things are required to know the self, God and Brahman. So here is the possibility available just by right thinking. I can direct method what Ramana Maharshi says. If I know the Lakshana of Brahman, self and God, and if my Praman is right, I will get Vastu Siddhi. So this is a direct inquiry method where I can have the Anubhuti here and now. 2 conditions needs to be met. Lakshanas must be very clearly understood what is a Lakshana and I must use the right Praman and then Vastu Siddhi available. Because that Vastu is available already always. So what is Lakshana? Lakshana means characteristics. What is Pramana? Pramana means. What is Vastu? Vastu means object. What is Siddhi? Attainment of knowledge. Two conditions for attaining right knowledge, Vastu Siddhi. Characteristics, this will decide the means. If we do not understand the characteristics, then we will not get the right knowledge. And you remember the Saddarshan example of Ramana Maharshi? Ramana Maharshi gives exactly the same example here. Lakshana Pramanabhyam Vastu Siddhihi. What is the example what he gives in Saddarshan? Is that suppose there is a ring, diamond ring fallen in the well, and the well is deep. What all things I must know to get the ring? First of all, I must be able to hold on the breath. I must know swimming. And the second thing, even if I know this, I must know what that ring is. Because there are many things located there. There are pebbles, there are other jewelry, there are ruby, there are diamonds. But what is that ring? I must know exact lakshana of that ring. So this Pramana Vichar is very, very interesting because it can take us to a direct flight just by thinking. So let us sit straight and let us focus on whatever we understood today, that the objects are known by the senses are known by the mind is known by the intellect is known by I am. The I am is illumined by consciousness. So if I want to know the real consciousness, then I must know the characteristics of consciousness. All the scriptures, what we read, we must list down all the characteristics. Those are lakshanas. And what are the right means to know God, to know self, to know Brahman. That is going to come. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.